Hey everyone, just about to head into Enterprise Connect, and I'm thrilled to have First Orion here to talk about their mission in the branded communication space. Mike, how are you?
I'm well, Evan. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to
Well,
be
good.
heading to Orlando next week.
Yeah, super exciting, and you have so much news and opportunities to share. Before we dive in, maybe introduce yourself and the mission at First Orion.
Sure, sure. So thanks, Evan, for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here and to kind of give you a sense for what we do here at First Orion. So I've been here 2.5 years now. My title is Channel Chief. I look after the indirect channel for First Orion. And our mission essentially is to connect businesses with customers via the phone call. We essentially are putting the call back into the cell phone by allowing businesses to essentially use a 32 character string to tell their caller, whoever they're calling, who's calling and why.
Well, it's such an important topic in these days of spam calls and uh, other kinds of fraud that's happening on our phone network. But maybe tell us about the evolution of branded calling, where we've come from, and why this is such top of mind in this days of customer engagement and enhancing customer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Companies want to reach their customers, and customers want the companies to reach them in many cases. And because we've been trained over the years not to answer calls that are unidentified, meaning they come across with just a number, or worse yet, if they're tagged with spam likely or scam likely, they never answer them. And so companies have a real problem connecting with their customers or their prospects. And so we were born in 2008 inside the T-Mobile network, but now we work across all three carriers. And we are essentially a company that was tasked by T-Mobile with defining, based on our algorithms, when calls were being sent by kind of bad actors, if you will. And we would then be able to tag those calls with a proper tag. And that's how we kind of got started. Then we realized, well, you need more than that. And we kind of built this whole branded calling solution or technology that allows companies to use that 32 character text string to essentially, on the display of the incoming cell phone here in the US, to identify the company that's calling and the reason for their call. And so when they look at their success metrics, if you will, answer rate is a big one, talk time is a big one, decline, how many calls were declined, or callbacks, right? So we ask companies to define their success metrics before and then after branding. And with branding, we've seen those success metrics really do well in terms of significantly increasing your answer rate, extending your talk time. Typically, when a talk time extends, that means there's a reason people want to engage with the caller. If they miss the call, essentially the branding follows the call into the voicemail, and essentially then it tells the person they're calling inside the voicemail who was calling and why, and the callbacks go way up as well.
Wow, such a smart approach, smart solution. Talk about the customers that are leveraging First Orion solution to improve, business outcomes and customer engagement. You have all kinds of contact center companies and businesses, small and large. Any in particular
Mhm.
you would care to call out?
Absolutely. We have a very extensive ecosystem of partners,
Hmm.
essentially, and we have one partner called 448 Connect. They specialize in helping companies like the American Red Cross to increase the donation rate, essentially, of blood donors, because it'll say who's calling and why.
Wow.
And so they've actually embraced our solution to help with that cause. And they have a really good example on Thanksgiving evening. Unfortunately, there was a big wreck, car accident down in Houston. There was multiple vehicles involved and multiple trauma patients transported to the local hospital. Turns out many of those folks were O negative blood type. The hospital ran out of O negative blood type and actually became very low on blood on the O negative blood type. They contacted 448 on Thanksgiving evening. 448 assembled a database of known A negative donors that were in that geography. They sent out a call to those known donors that were A negative, and it said so and so hospital O negative urgent. those calls went out, and the response was incredible in terms of the number of people that the next morning or even the day after kind of streamed into those blood donation centers to help that situation. So it's a great example of how this technology can really help companies get their phone calls answered, get their essentially extend their business, solve those customer problems they're calling about, or in this case, you might say save lives.
Wow, that's such an intriguing story, and tech for good. That's amazing. And there's nothing worse than missing a doctor or a healthcare provider or a call from a pharmacy. So I love that example. So you have a whole suite of products, which you're going to be talking about at Enterprise Connect, Inform, Engage, Sentry. Without getting into all
Yeah.
of the details, the ins and outs, what are some of the key differentiators of First Orion in this emerging and exciting market space?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things. One, we offer a free service called Free Caller Registry, where
Hmm.
companies can actually essentially log in. They can identify the we call them A numbers, the numbers they're calling from. We then vet those for no charge to make sure that that company, in effect, owns that number, right? Because you have to make sure that that vetting is done very thoroughly, such that essentially it makes sure that that company owns the number so that they can make outbound calls with that. Then once they've done that, and that there's no cost for that, then they can opt into branded calling, which, as I said earlier, allows them in our portal to essentially customize the 32 character string. And to be clear, it's 32 characters on T-Mobile and AT&T, and Verizon is at 15 characters, but that's how it works at the moment. Then to enhance the experience and to make sure the companies are comfortable with the connection between them and their customer and not being spoofed, we've introduced a new technology called Paired. Essentially, use an API to integrate, and the company, tells us via that API that they are calling from this number, which has been previously vetted and ownership of that company, and that company is calling this B number, which is a cell phone in the U.S. They tell us that they're making that call. They give us a time to live, say 60 seconds, and when they place that call, the call will transverse the network. It will carry the branding, but only in that time to live. So it could be 60 seconds, 30 seconds. If it's not inside that window, which essentially eliminates or virtually eliminates any spoofing, where companies can call spoofing the number and making it appear there's somebody else. And this is a great example of how we can kind of help to secure the phone call and to make sure that the company that's calling is legitimate. The customer that's receiving that call can trust the fact that that call is from their bank or their healthcare provider or whomever. And so that's a really great solution that differentiates us from some of our competitors.
Fantastic approach. Talk about the onboarding process, both of a partner or a new end client. What's that integration process like, and how do you support them during this transition period, which is rather new, novel, different?
Yes. So it's surprisingly simple. So
Mm,
as I had said earlier, it starts with logging into Free Caller Registry, logging in your name and the numbers you're calling from, and that vetting process takes place. So it's as simple as that. Once you've been vetted and kind of we've connected the dots between that number and the ownership of that company, then you can essentially enable branded calling, which would give you access to our portal. The numbers will be in the portal. You can then define that text string, if you will, that 32 character string, or in 15 in the case of Verizon. And then you can use that essentially to brand your outgoing calls. Now, that has to be vetted not only by us in terms of what you say, but also by the carriers, just as a double check. But assuming that goes through properly, then you're off and running. If you're going to enhance the solution with things like Paired, which is that API integration, that does require the API to be integrated, but that's a fairly simple process. We have an open API website that all of those are available from and for free. And then you can enable the solution and have access to that portal. And you can actually do some A/B testing on the branding that you're using on certain outbound calls. You can actually have different brands for different calls, depending on if it's a, say, appliance delivery side of a big box retailer, floor installation, customer service. Each of those numbers can be grouped, and then they can have a brand associated with the reason why they're calling.
Wow, that's a phenomenal approach. So we're both heading into Enterprise Connect, really exciting. Anything in particular you're looking forward to? And what about, a little longer term beyond Enterprise Connect? What can you share regarding maybe roadmap and where you're leading the industry?
Well, as it relates to Enterprise Connect, I'll be arriving on Monday and I'll be there through Thursday. I actually have a speaking opportunity from stage on Tuesday at 2:30
Ah,
p.m. So I would love for folks to join me there, where I'll actually take them through a whole lot more detail. We have very powerful graphics to show prospects and customers how this technology works, how easy it is to implement. And we also have a booth at Enterprise Connect next week. So we welcome them to come to the booth and see it for themselves. And so
hmm.
super excited about that. In terms of roadmaps beyond that, there's lots and lots of things that are kind of in the works, including blocking, which is a technology called SENTRY. We can actually do active blocking of calls. It's a little more in depth, but it's a very
Wow.
enhanced solution. And eventually we'll be adding images. Essentially, you may have heard it called BCID. This is our solution is different from that, but essentially it allows you to make a call with a graphic or a logo for a company. That's kind of future, but that's where we're heading.
Wow, it's a really exciting space, and it's amazing you're leading this category. Can't wait to check out the presentation and see you at the booth and meet the team. And just a little anecdote: if you're not aware, Mike owns and operates a farm, a real farm. Not so. Ask Mike about for some fun stories about farming when he's not doing his day job. So look forward to
And
seeing you, Mike.
I'll add one more thing. Interestingly enough, my son is on The Voice this season. So
Oh wow!
he, his episode aired last Monday, 2 Mondays ago, I guess, and we expect he did very well. So he'll be on the season this year.
That is phenomenal. I can't wait to see him, see you, and to meet
Yep.
up in Enterprise Connect. Thanks everyone for watching. Can't wait to meet in person on site in Orlando and to learn more about First Orion's mission and the amazing technology behind the scenes as well. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Evan. Bye now.